All right, Candy, let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they are.
I'm ready.
It's whatever you print.
All right, at least one of us is. Okay. We'll call the meeting to order. It's Tuesday, April 12th of 2022. This is the Stoughton City Council, and the first item would be the roll call.
Okay. Jensen,
I think he was excused. He wasn't feeling well tonight.
okay. Bagaki,
Here.
Mayaski,
Here.
Reeves,
Here.
Hunt,
Here.
Schumacher,
Here.
Venegas,
Here.
Tukalski,
Here.
thank you, Caravello,
Here.
Doom,
Here.
Hiley,
Here.
Hirsch,
She's absent and excused.
okay, thank you. Then I have 10 alders present at the moment.
All right, thank you very much. Minutes and reports are in the packet. Public comment period. I do have a couple people signed up to speak. The first one would be Carl Chenoweth.
Thank you, Mayor Swiley. I have a little technical difficulty tonight, so hope everybody can see me. I'm calling from my cell phone. But I was hoping to speak tonight in support of Resolution R78 2022, authorizing the mayor to submit a grant application for Workforce Innovation Grant Round 2. This is a very important resolution to our community at this time. As most of you know, we've been trying to and have some success in generating interest in forming or at least organizing an innovation center to promote the opportunities and ideas of our local talent and local educational system. And tonight, this resolution takes another step forward in planting a seed to make this happen. And I hope we get full support of this resolution and move forward. It's a very important support mechanism for a very creative and innovative idea in our community. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I'd like to thank Carl for all your years on the county board. And then next speaker would be our incoming county board supervisor, Michael Engelberger. Go ahead, Mike.
Good evening. I'm Mike Engelberger. I just wanted to do a couple things. I want to congratulate the mayor on his election last week, and also the three alders that were reelected. I want to introduce myself, Mike Engelberger. I was elected to represent District 35 of the Dane County Board, which Carl Chenoweth, the previous speaker, has been our representative for the last 10 years. Carl represented the city of Stoughton. In redistricting recently, the district has been expanded to include the whole city of Stoughton plus portions of Pleasant Springs north of Stoughton and portions of Dunkirk south of Stoughton. And I look forward to representing the district. And I just wanted to come before the council and just say that I look forward to hopefully working with the council and the mayor, also the school board I want to work with, and the towns of Pleasant Springs and Dunkirk, and hopefully we can work together and formulate some ideas to improve our whole situation in representing people of the city and of the district. So thank you, and I just wanted to introduce myself. It's been a pleasure. I served on the council here from 2012 to 2018, and it was a pleasure doing that, and I look forward to the new challenges. So, along with city staff and everybody else. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
All right, and that takes us into communications and presentations. Are there any communications from alders?
This is Rachel Venegas. I'll be on maternity leave shortly. May, June, and July.
All right, thank you and congratulations.
Congratulations again.
Thanks.
Any other communications from alders? I have a few. First of all, next Tuesday night here at 6 o'clock will be our reorganizational meeting. And I sent out an email, hopefully everybody received it, asking for your kind of your top 2 or 3 requests for your committee assignments. And if you could possibly get them to me by the end of the day tomorrow, Thursday at the latest, so I can kind of go through them and get them to the clerk's office so she can have the agenda ready to go out on Friday, that would be wonderful. I would like to acknowledge that it is Public Safety Telecommunications Week. So for our dispatchers, thank you for what you do. And then also I'd like to thank Alderperson Ozzie Doom for his years of service here on the City Council.
Thank you.
Now is when we roast Ozzie, if anybody has anything to say. Are there any other communications? All right, hearing none, we'll see if I can get this thing fired up here. I'm having all sorts of funs with technology tonight here, so we'll see if I can make this happen. We have a presentation from representatives from Emmy Roth. You can come right up to the podium here and introduce yourself, and then I'll try to, you can just tell me when to advance the
Sure
slides.
thing. Hello, my name is Ed Jones. I'm here representing Emmy Roth. I'm the VP of Supply Chain. With me, I have a couple, one name you might know, Rob Fisher, who is a project manager for special projects, as well as a couple other members and representatives of people working with us in terms of a project we'd like to bring to Stoughton. If you want to move on, please. So we are Emmy Roth. We are a cheese company here in Wisconsin. We'll talk a little bit more about where we're from, but have plants throughout the state, as well as our corporate headquarters here in Fitchburg. The best way to describe us is to talk about our vision. And what that is the best cheese moments are Emmy Roth moments. So we want to create the best moments in gatherings, family, friends, and we want to be involved in, we want our cheeses, our products involved in that. Moving on. We have a set, we run our family, our business off a set core of beliefs, but the most important ones that me personally, that we follow by is we put our people first, we are socially responsible, and we value our communities. Taking a look at Emmy Roth, the history of Emmy Roth actually started all the way back at the beginning of the 20th century when Otto Roth immigrated from Switzerland and started an importing business, bringing Swiss cheeses into the U.S. And then in the 50s, some descendants of Otto came to Wisconsin to start making cheese, not just importing cheese, but making cheese. Actually in Monroe, in Greene County in Monroe, they installed the first copper vats in the U.S. So the first cheeses to be made in the Alpine style with copper vats happened in Monroe through Roth Company. And then in 2009, Emmy, a Swiss co-op, purchased Roth to become Emmy Roth. And as we continued to grow, invest in Wisconsin and Wisconsin cheeses, we purchased a plant in 2016 in Seymour to make blue cheese, to grow our business. And then just this past year, I'm sorry, that was 2019. And just this past year, in 2021, we purchased the Athenos brand of feta, so the #1 feta brand in the U.S. One thing that marketing would kill me if I didn't say, back in 2019, our Grand Cru Cherchois won for the World Championship for cheese. So the best cheese in the world in 2016 was produced in Greene County in Monroe. So a huge accomplishment for us. So that's Emmy Roth, but Emmy, we are a subsidiary of Emmy, a Swiss co-op. Emmy is a $4 billion company worldwide. Emmy Roth is a part of the Americas division, which is inclusive of Canada, the U.S., Mexico, Brazil, and Chile. So we are part of a very large company that is always looking to grow, which is why we're here today. A little bit more about our story and kind of our focuses. Sustainability is of huge importance to us. We rely on milk. Our main ingredient is milk. So we need to make sure that we have a sustainable source of that milk. You can see when it comes to the milk source, we are focused on things like organic, humane treatment of animals, kosher as well. And the food safety is of utmost importance to us. We are a company known for quality, and that food safety is of utmost importance to us. Just some of the brands that you may be familiar with Emmy Roth. So we have our Emmy brand and our Roth brand. So the Grand Cru is a pretty popular one for us. That's our flagship brand. But we also have goat cheeses, Havartis, Goudas. We have our Alpine Traditions, our Emmy brands, which are our imported cheeses. Gruyere being the most noticeable, but also Switzerland Swiss. And then mentioned the Athenos brand that we just purchased last year. We like to view ourselves as the best cheesemakers in the world. So when we talk about the 2021 World Championships, we actually best in class in 2 divisions. And our Sursoir was actually made the top 20 out of 2,700 entrants. Our Sursoir was the top 20, made the top 20. I mentioned that we are throughout Wisconsin, so we do have 3 production facilities, one in Seymour, which does our blue cheese and gorgonzola. Monroe, which I mentioned was the source of that World Championship cheese, Sursoir, in Greene County, and then Platteville as well. We have a distribution center also that we utilize in Monroe. This is the rendering of the facility we would like to bring to Stoughton. It is a cheese conversion facility, so we will be bringing in cheese that we will cure, store, and then convert, shred, chunk, wedge, crumble here. So you see the office complex, the main conversion area, and then the cold storage that will go along with it to distribute out. So that was my brief little synopsis. I hope I didn't go too fast, but I would welcome any questions anyone may have.
How many people would you employ at this?
It's going to range, but we are looking at around roughly 100 employees at the site.
Are there any other questions? Alderperson Hunt.
Is there a estimated cost for your production facility?
Yeah, right now it's sitting around $70 million is the investment we're looking to make.
Did you bring any samples?
No, Rob, did you bring any samples? Yeah. Well, we could definitely, for future, we'll make sure we do a part and bring some samples.
Any other questions from alders?
I think so. Somebody else asked it, so.
Pardon me?
No, I had one, but it was answered, so.
Okay.
It's a sample question, right?
Well, I was thinking that. I didn't say it out loud, though, like Fred.
Well, one of the values we had was we bring an appetite, and we're like when people we talk to bring one too. So we'll make sure that we have some available.
Anybody zooming in have any questions?
Grand Cru Reserve is delicious.
Yes,
Yes, it is. It's my wife's favorite.
they're all pretty delicious.
Welcome, and when do you guys plan to start digging?
Well, a lot of it is going to be contingent upon what happens over the next couple of weeks and months, but we're hoping to start digging over the summer, groundbreaking over the summer.
Thank you.
You'll see a number of items at our next couple meetings. They were at the Plan Commission meeting last night, and I have to say that, you know, you've been a pleasure to work with. Came in, asked the right questions, followed through on your end, really made life easier for us to facilitate your requests.
Well, and that's a thank you for Rob and Dave and the work that they've done. They've been great with it, and it doesn't move as smoothly without your guys' cooperation as well. So the cooperation that we've gotten from the Planning Commission and our contacts here has been great as well. So I'm really looking forward to that continuing and how we can move forward together with this project.
Excellent. Last chance for questions. All right, hearing none, thank you very much. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
being here tonight.
Thank you.
All right, we'll get back to the agenda here. And we have a couple presentations or communications from the clerk's office. Take it away, Candy.
Thanks. There's not a whole lot more to report on the ward update. We do have the maps. Mary, are you able to put those up?
Let's see, what did I do with them? I had them. Let's see. I'm not sure if I'm going to have the right order for you, Candy,
okay.
but I'll do what I can here.
I think Rodney maybe got it. Thank you.
Oh, he did.
Yep, thanks. Okay, so this first map here, the area that's shaded in blue is the potential new ward that has been created at the bottom of 4, as you'll see. The next sequential number is going to be 9, so that's going to be Ward 9. And you'll see the pink and green line there, that's the dividing line, that's what's splitting Ward 4 up. So if you can move to the next slide, please. Okay, so this is going to be, there we go, thank you. 15, where that pink 15 is, that's going to be Ward 10. That's a break off of Ward 7. So we have Ward 10, and below that we have Ward 7, and then the next slide, or you'll see in the next slide, is going to be Ward 11. So we potentially will have 5 ballots during certain elections over there in that area. But the first slide where it was the break off of 9 from 4, that's just our public works building basically. So there is not any population that's affected in that one. But over here on this side of town, we're going to have a little bit of some additional ballots to deal with eventually if this gets approved. So we're just in a wait and see mode. I don't know if Attorney Dregney knows anything more at this point in regards to these maps. The next map, you can kind of see the whole picture of it if you want to slide to that one. There we go. So we're in a wait and see mode right now with that. So that's my update. I haven't heard anything where they're at in litigation right now, so.
Anything you
we're
want
ready.
to add, Matt?
I don't have any news for you.
He's got his best guy working on it though, Candy.
Yeah.
They're gonna have
So that's
to
what I have for that update. And then I was just going to give you some updates from the election. Congratulations to everyone that was reelected. And we also have Frank Roth, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, has accepted the nomination for District 4. He was a write-in candidate and was the highest vote recipient. So we also had, if you all noticed, we had a delay in results to Dane County, excuse me. There was an issue in their technology up there, and it affected several municipalities in Dane County. The results were sent on our end, but it wasn't received on their end. So fortunately, we were able to get a hold of all the clerks that were affected, and we went back and resent the results. So they finally, I think, made it public about 10 o'clock by the time we got them in. So, but otherwise, overall, the voter turnout, we had 2,540 voters turn out, about 30% of our registered voters. Right now, we currently have 8,603 registered voters in Stoughton. Out of that 2,540, we sent 1,027 absentee ballots out. And of that, 746 ballots were returned in the mail. We had 281 not returned. For some reason, there's still a large portion of ballots that just get lost in the mail. So we end up canceling them and inactivating them and resending them ballots. So in person, we had 89 people come in from starting March 22nd. And we did offer Saturday hours from 8 to noon, and I had 5 voters come in that day. So that's kind of the short, condensed version of April 5th. Any questions?
I've got one.
Yeah.
Did you see a major difference in comparison to when the ballot drop box was open? I know it's hard to compare different elections and different timings, but did you notice anything?
Yeah, we noticed that. That was that really confused a lot of the voters. That and not being able to bring in your husband or your wife's or your son or your daughter's partner's ballot, that was a lot of confusion as well. We could only take the ballots of the person standing there in front of us. So I don't think there's any changes expected with that drop box, but that one really, I know there were ballots that didn't even come back because people didn't want to leave their homes and they didn't want to mail them. They just were not going to mail them. So I don't know, I can't take a ballot if a neighbor would bring it in from that person anyway. So there's really, I don't know what the options are for them. So.
Yeah, I think the only thing we can do is if the present law continues, to continue our outreach and encourage people, if they can't bring it in person, to drop it in the mail. So for some reason they think it's secure in the mail, but it's not secure in a drop box that has a camera on it. But you know, that's the law that we work with. But I know that Candy and her team tried to communicate. There was a lot of people that came in that were physically and mentally disappointed and upset and showed their frustration, but Candy and her team really, acted professionally and tried to explain things the best that they could. And the anger wasn't really addressed at us as much as it was the situation, which most people understand that we didn't cause.
And was that a temporary block for this election by the state Supreme Court?
Do you want me to speak to that?
Matt will address that.
Well, the issue relating to the drop boxes and the procedures allowed for the return of absentee ballots, we have a circuit court decision that really drove the process during the last election. That's currently pending before the Wisconsin Supreme Court. They have not made a decision yet. So we'll see what the Wisconsin Supreme Court does. So we just have to wait for that decision. The Wisconsin Supreme Court has not yet made a decision.
All right. Any other? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying that pending that decision, they had blocked it for this election, correct?
Well, it's a little complicated. So there was a decision out of the Waukesha County Circuit Court that essentially ordered the Wisconsin Election Commission to withdraw its previously issued guidance relating to the return of absentee ballots. That left clerks throughout Wisconsin with no guidance from the Wisconsin Election Commission, and also left clerks with language in that circuit court decision that indicated that drop boxes would only be allowed if they were, essentially in the clerk's office, and also indicated that ballots could only be received by clerks, accepted by clerks, if they were delivered by the actual voters. So there were certain practices that had been going on for many years in terms of, husband or wife drops off both spouses' ballots, couldn't do that anymore. Drop boxes that have been used around the state for years, now we had to, clerks had to decide, should we continue to allow those to be used, or should we not allow those to be used because we have a circuit court decision that says it's not appropriate? And so I think most clerks and received guidance from the League of Wisconsin Municipalities, and the Counties Association also issued guidance that I think suggested that, my take on their guidance was that following that circuit court decision was probably the better course of action, at least until we get a decision out of the Wisconsin Supreme Court.
Thanks for clarifying.
All right. Thank you, Candy. All right, we'll move into our business. First item would be the consent agenda, and I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I so move.
Second.
There's a motion by Reeves or Legaki, and a second by Reeves. Anybody like anything acted on separately from the consent agenda?
I have a question about the minutes. There is one change that I think you could make, which is it says Alcohol Committee, and it really should say Alcohol Policy Committee, I
Okay.
believe.
Yeah, we can do that. I think on the resolution, we left off the word policy, but that's how we've been referring it to as, so we can do that.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else?
I don't need it separated, but just a point of order on Resolution 68 for the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Task Force. Dee Roberson, there is no T in there. She is a high school teacher, and she is joining us.
Okay. Thank you for that. We'll get that, and there'll be other appointments probably at the next meeting as well, that task force continues to grow. Anything else? Hearing none, all in favor of the consent agenda, say aye.
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 And any opposed? None opposed, that motion carries. And that takes us to item number 6, which is zoning ordinance amendment to section 78-405, second reading. Alderperson Caravello.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Schwadley. This is ordinance 9 of 2022, amending zoning code section 78-405, parentheses 4 of the Stoughton Municipal Code, and I so move.
And is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Doom. And any discussion?
This is simply just cleaning up some wording, changing the, currently it uses the word handicap, changing that to the word accessible.
All right, thank you for that. Anything else from alders? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 And any opposed? None opposed, that motion carries. Next item is coming from Public Safety, and I think Alderperson Jensen requested that Alderperson Tukowski introduce these items tonight. So the
Sure.
floor is yours.
Okay. This is our 69, 2022, authorizing and directing the proper city officials to issue a 6-month Class B fermented malt beverage license to the Stoughton Merchants Baseball. And I so move.
And is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Legaki. And Alderperson Tukowski, anything that's noteworthy?
This has gone through public safety and been approved there and is complete, and as far as we know, so.
All right, yeah, and there was never really been any issues, and the merchants are there to defend their championship from last year, so let's hope they do it. But yeah, it's about a block away from my house, and it's really been fun watching people come to the games, and they really are family events, so no issues there that I'm aware of. Any questions or comments from alders? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. And any opposed? None opposed. That motion carries. The next one is also coming from Public Safety, Alderperson Tukowski.
This is our 2022, which is a resolution authorizing and directing the proper city officials to approve a Class B liquor and beer license for Tailgaters of Stoughton LLC, Vina, I'm sorry, I can't see it very well. Oh, Visna Samrath agent for the premises located at 151 East Main. I have a question for Chief Leck going in. In the packet, there is one item that was left blank, I think, which was for Matthew Heitman. And I think we resolved that in public safety, actually. So I don't know quite what we need to do there. If it were not for that blank, maybe it's been filled in on your official copy there. And it's really just number 1, which is how long Matthew has continuously resided in Wisconsin. So I thought that was filled in for us and we approved it.
I believe you're correct, but that'd be a better question for Candy.
I guess I will have to take a look at that. I did not catch that one. I didn't catch it in the minutes, so that is.
Okay. I would move to approve pending a double check on that item.
I will second that with my memory serving me right. He said 2006.
All right, so there's a motion and a second, and basically there's an ownership change at the establishment. That's why the request is in here, and as well as an agent change that is going along with it. So we'll make sure we get that tidied up. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 And any opposed? That motion carries. Next item is also coming from Public Safety, Alderperson Tukowski.
Yeah, this is our 2022, authorizing and directing the proper city officials to approve the retail license transfer person to person for Deb Smith, Viking Lanes, 1410 Hamilton Highway 51, and I so move.
Second.
Second by, was it Alderperson Doom? Okay,
Comments?
sure, go ahead.
Well, I have none, and are there others?
This one is just changed. Unfortunately, there was a death in ownership, so they're just really transferring the license to the surviving spouse. Anything from council members? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
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 And any opposed? None opposed. That motion carries. Next item is coming from Finance, Alderperson Schumacher.
All right, thank you, Mayor. R72, 2022, a resolution by the Common Council of the City of Stoughton approving agreement to undertake development, the Cole Parker addition. This came through in March 22nd, 5-0 vote. I so move.
Second.
That's motion and a second by Alderperson Reeves. And I would just add, I believe there was an updated version that went out in the email today. And I don't know if we need to go through that at all or anything significant.
No, it reformatted the insurance language, and that was just more of a formatting change, but the packet represents the current version.
Okay. And Alderperson Schumacher, anything from your end?
No, nothing really.
Any questions or comments from alders? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
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 And any opposed? None opposed, that motion carries. Next item is coming from the Plan Commission. Alderperson Caravello.
Yes, this is ordinance 10 of 2022, an ordinance providing for the direct annexation by unanimous approval of a portion of the town of Dunkirk to the city of Stoughton, Dane County, Wisconsin, and I so move.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to say it's the first reading.
Oh, sorry. Well, first reading then.
Yeah. Anything that you want to highlight in this, or would you like Rodney to go through it, or?
It's the annexation from Dunkirk of the area. I mean, just area generally bordered by 4th Street to the east and Acre or Acker to the south. And any other questions? I'm sure Rodney could fill us in.
All right, one thing I noticed, it says it went through Finance Committee on the resolution. I'm not so sure it did. So we can change that.
We talked about it, but
Was there a recommendation coming out of there? I don't remember.
I don't think as far as the annexation, I don't believe. Oh wait, yeah, we did.
Or maybe I'm on the
have
wrong
that.
one here.
Oh, we did.
Yeah, I think
That was our last item. that
I'm
we
sorry.
did.
I'm on the wrong one. Here it is. Anything you want to go through on this annexation, Rodney?
It's consistent with our comprehensive plan. It's an area that's been identified for future development. We've seen concepts of potential residential development, 1 and 2 family homes, likely around 100 units that are anticipated. So that'll evolve after the annexation steps move forward.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments from alders? Otherwise, this one will be back in a couple weeks. All right, seeing none, we'll go on to the next one. The next one is also a first reading that comes out of the Plan Commission.
And I believe this one is going to be ordinance 11 of 2022. An ordinance providing for the direct annexation by unanimous approval of a portion of the town of Pleasant Springs to the city of Stoughton, Dane County, Wisconsin. And as you said, this is the first reading. And this is actually the, relates to the presentation by the representative from Emery Roth Cheese regarding the annexation from Pleasant Springs of the area that is at the corner of Glacier Moraine and Williams Drive.
That is correct. Anything you want to highlight here, Rodney?
Again, it's within our comprehensive plan as an area that the city is anticipated to grow into. The utilities directly abut this site. It certainly seems like an appropriate addition to the community, and we'll talk more specifically about the urban service area amendment in a subsequent agenda item.
All right, any questions at this point from council members? Hearing none, this one will be back at the next meeting, or actually 2 meetings from now. Next week's the reorg. Item number 13, this one here comes from the Plan Commission, Alderperson Caravello.
And this is Resolution 73 of 2022, a resolution finding that the expansion of the Stoughton urban service area to include approximately 20 acres of land in the northeast corner of Williams Drive and Glacier Moraine Drive is consistent with the City of Stoughton Comprehensive Plan and direct staff to submit a request for expanding the Stoughton urban service area to include said lands. And I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Reeves. Alderperson Caravello.
And since this, as Rodney just said, this relates to the M.E. Roth site, I will let Rodney take it away, or if anybody has any questions.
Phil, what was the vote at Plan Commission?
Unanimous.
Thank you.
Unanimous, yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, and then we do have a date set for the urban service area amendment. Go ahead, Rodney.
Yeah, the urban service area amendment allows for the extension of public utilities into this area. It's a process that the Capillary Regional Planning Commission receives the application, hears the public testimony, and makes a recommendation ultimately to the DNR. This process is put in motion by our application being submitted to the Capillary Regional Planning Commission. They set a public hearing date, which is tentatively set for, I believe, May 12th at this point. You'll recognize when Glacier Moraine Drive was installed, constructed by the city, sanitary sewer and water directly affronts that on the south edge of the property. A water main extends up Williams Drive, fully adjacent to this site as well. So we're ready and able to serve this property very well. The proposed use is very logical for the utilities in place here, and outlined in the materials, you'll see it. Our system can support the development as proposed.
All right, any initial questions or comments on this? Do you remember what the date of that was? They just sent that out.
I think it's May 12th.
May 12th, yeah.
I'll confirm
So-
by email.
And I think you can zoom into the meetings if anybody's interested in seeing the presentation and how that process works. It's kind of interesting. Typically, you know, they'll have more than one presentation from communities on there, and it just gives you really a chance to understand what their criteria is and what they're looking for on the stormwater. And I mean, it's a big investment for the businesses and really for developers in general to put in these systems. They've been designing them most recently to accommodate 200-year floods. And, you know, the standards continue to go up. Seems to be more on-site basins and those sorts of things, which really gobbles up some land and increases the cost, but also understanding that it's really necessary, you know, for the long-term sustainability and you know, for not only their property, but really the properties that surround it. So it's an interesting thing to go through. If you haven't done that, I would encourage it. That's assuming you don't have another meeting that night, so everybody's busy with that. Are there any questions or comments about this? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
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 And any opposed? None opposed, that motion does carry. Looks like the next several items are coming from the Finance Committee. Alderperson Schumacher.
All right, R 74, 2022, a resolution by the Common Council of the City of Stoughton approving reduction in GIP Glacier Marine LLC letter of credit. Went through finance tonight, unanimous decision, and I so move.
Second.
Second by Alderperson Reeves. Alderperson Schumacher.
This is the company that is responsible for what we've referred to as the Grosso buildings. And they have requested, based on their value added by their properties, a reduction of their $550,000 letter of credit, reduction by $99,235.
All right, thank you. And they made this request a while back during the transition in the finance department, and former director Friedel was kind enough to help our current director Ehrlinger and work with Ellers in order to make sure that it was appropriate to release the letter of credit. So thanks to all for working together to make that happen. Any questions or comments from alders? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 And any opposed? None opposed, that motion carries. Next item, Alderperson Schumacher.
All right, R 2022, initial resolution authorizing $710,000 general obligation bonds for community development projects in tax incremental district number 7. Came through finance again tonight, unanimous decision, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Doom. And who's gonna walk us through this one?
I can. As you recall, back at the end of January, we actually approved some initial resolutions for bond purposes back then. We don't typically use bonds here at the city. We usually use notes, so this is something that was new. You basically have to approve purposes specifically outlined in the state statutes. For instance, in January, you approved like street improvements, storm sewer, equipment of the fire, and so forth. This project actually came about, and I believe Rodney introduced it as a resolution at one of your meetings here as well, talking about a project down Oak Opening, I believe is what it's called, where that project is being done, and it seems to make a benefit, or it makes sense to do it in conjunction with a potential project that will be occurring in the potential TID 9. And so we added this as a initial resolution that needs to be approved so we can sell it with the overall bonds.
All right, any questions or comments? You know, and I would just add, you know, Dave highlighted, you know, one of the reasons why we did bonds on some. And I think we did a combination of 10 and 20-year bonds on some of these.
Really, they're all bonds, except what we did is we broke out some of the purposes into the useful lives. So, you know, when we get to the actual pre-sale report, which I'll go through next, we broke those out because we wanted to make sure that we had repayment schedules based on the useful lives of the assets that we were borrowing for. You don't really have to break out the purposes by years, but we do it at the CIP level when you're approving it, so we kept that going that direction.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments on this one? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 I can do it.
Aye.
And any opposed?
Just get it dry.
None opposed, that motion carries. Next one, Alderperson Schumacher.
All right, R 2022, resolution establishing parameters for the sale of not to exceed $5.48 million general obligation corporate purpose bonds, Series 2022A. This came through finance again tonight, unanimous decision, and I so move.
Second.
All right, second by Reeves. And did we need to talk about the interest rate on this one?
Yeah, how much do you want me to go through the report?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead through the report, maybe when we get to the parameter part, then we'll offer that amendment up.
Okay. Are you able to pull that report open?
Yeah, I should be able to. Is it, let me find here.
It should be part of the packet.
All right, I just gotta get to it. That is a,
I can get through the legal stuff first.
yeah, there it
There you
is.
Well, that's
Right there.
oh.
Was it in here? I saw it in finance, but I didn't actually see it in here. It's right in front of me.
That's not it, that's all the TIF.
Go back, I just saw it, right there.
All right.
Yep.
Up or down?
Up.
Okay.
So
See if I can make everybody dizzy tonight.
Yep. Slightly ill here. Okay.
There it is.
Want to go on to the next page?
Yep.
So this is what we call the pre-sale report, which really documents some of the planning that's gone forward as far as like determining what we are going to borrow for. You know, we came up with a project list in the fall, and then the council approved that CIP. Now we're bringing it forward to finance. So this document really documents what we've done through the process. The amount that we're borrowing, that we're going to take to the market is $5,480,000. That is going to basically finance your 2022 capital improvement plan that you approved. It also brings in some TIF 7 and TIF 8 projects. As far as debt capacity wise, you're in pretty good shape. Your policy is 50 or 80% of the statutory amount, which is 5% of the equalized value. You're at 55% right now, so you're in good shape there. That's right in line with what we had at CIP time. As far as the prepayment at the end of 10 years out in April of 2032, if we have good interest rates again, which they're still good, but they aren't as good as they used to be. If it makes sense, we can consider refunding those and putting those into cheaper bonds. If their interest rate is still good at that time, we'll probably leave them in there. The other thing you could do is if for some reason you have cash on hand, you want to reduce the size of the debt out there, that's the time you're able to consider that, anytime after that date. Let's see, top of page 2, we're going to talk to Moody's on rating. So staff will have a conference call with Moody's and talk about the financials and the development going on in the city and kind of brag about where we're at. We anticipate a good outcome and affirming that AA2, which is a really good rating for the city. We're going to sell these competitively, so underwriters from local and regional and national will take a shot at these, and hopefully we'll get a decent showing and get a good interest rate because of that competitive process. Top of the next page is the parameter section that Alderman Schumacher wanted me to kind of touch upon. So we've sold your notes, or basically your notes in the last few years, using a parameters resolution, which is, everything's the same except we sell on a different day than the council meeting, and this resolution that's in your packet actually delegates the authorization of approving the sale results to, in this case, the Director of Finance, Controller, or the Treasurer. There's a couple things that their underwriter needs to meet. They cannot make the size any bigger, which typically never happens. They can't give us more premium than 106% of that number, and premium really is a way that underwriters make the coupon amount. So when you get a bond, it says like 5%. In many cases in these days, the premium has actually propped that up, and the actual yield is quite a bit less. It's just a way to make it look like it's more interesting to that investor. The minimum bid is something that we don't want any less in our hands than what the underwriter will take for compensation, and that's the maximum amount that we anticipate that they would take. So we don't anticipate less than 98% of that face value. The item that we want to talk about today was the maximum true interest cost. This is really this isn't a item that tells the underwriter what we want them to give us for a rate, but rather it helps us eliminate really wild, crazy bids where we're getting somebody that maybe throws a 7% rate at this, and we don't want to, maybe we don't want to pay that much. Really what we want to do though is in the market we're in, because it's so volatile, what we don't want to do is cut ourselves off at the knees and not be able to actually sell these, because we're going down the road on some projects where we have commitments and we really need to get the capital in here as quickly as we can so you can pay for those projects. What we're asking you to do is just to amend that maximum true interest cost to 4.5%, because interest rates have basically been climbing since January about 10 basis points per week, which means if it was, on here it says 4, so 10 basis points would make it 4.1%. So what's been happening is actually even in the last month we've gone up a full percent or 100 basis points. And what I don't want to do is go another 5 weeks until our sale day and have that 4% actually be in the ballpark of where we land. Because if they can't stay under that 4%, then they won't bid, and we won't get the capital to pay for your stuff, and we'll have to come back, and we might lose another couple weeks and another couple, then 10 basis points. So, the world is a little crazy right now. We got things going across the ocean. We've got the Fed threatening to have a half-point increase to the Fed funds rate. I don't see why things would go back down. I would love them if they stabilize a little bit, but I also don't want to delay your sale. So if you could amend the resolution to be a maximum true interest cost of 4.5%, I think we'll do just fine. Otherwise, we do have a little bit of flexibility on sale day. If they do give us premium, that we can move some maturities around so that we can make sure your tax rate stays stable. And that's just something that gives us a little flexibility on sale day. But we can't move more than that, or else we're out of compliance. So that was a section I really wanted to talk about with the council, just to ask for that amendment. But that's kind of how the parameters works. They have to meet those parameters to actually be considered, and we want to give them flexibility so that we get a bid. So that's what that is about. Otherwise,
Dave, should we let's run through the amendment before anybody loses track of what we were just talking about in there. So if anybody's got any questions about that. So I'll offer the amendment to raise that parameter to a 4.5% true interest cost.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Reeves. Did everybody zooming in catch all that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you. Didn't want you to think that we forgot about you. All right, anything you want to discuss on that?
Nope.
All right, any questions? No questions? All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? All right, the amendment carries, and I think we're going to finish the conversation and then go back to the main motion as amended. Does that sound right?
Yep.
Okay.
okay, just I'll go quick with the rest of them. The risk factors on page 4. Let you catch up here.
Page 4.
Really, that's just a case where if for some reason the TIF districts didn't have enough revenues, or the stormwater utility didn't have enough revenues, that the property tax might have to be levied to pay for those. But I believe you're healthy in those areas, so that won't be an issue. The sale calendar on page 5, basically, we are here today to introduce this to you. We'll do some work with the official statement, which is the document that underwriters use to put together their bid. We'll do some work on that, getting it shaped up and reviewing it and getting it distributed. As I said, we'll talk to the rating agency, and then on May 18th, if you consider the resolution that's before you, that would designate the finance director and the treasurer, or the treasurer, the ability to sign off on the sale results on May 18th. And then June 9th would be the date that you get your funds. I won't go through all the numbers. If somebody wants me to, I'd be happy to, but I didn't know if you want to be bored by all the numbers in here, so.
All right, any questions or comments from anyone? So what we have is we have a motion for a resolution. I'll go back to it maybe, as amended, to establish the parameters of the sale to not exceed the 5.48, I'm not hearing any questions on that. So all in favor of the motion as amended, say aye.
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 And anybody opposed? None opposed, that motion carries. All right, thank you. So that takes us to R77. That one also came through finance. Alderperson Schumacher.
All right, R77, 2022, resolution creating tax incremental district number 9, approving its project plan and establishing its boundaries, City of Stoughton, Wisconsin. This came through finance tonight, unanimous decision, and I so move.
And is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Doom. Alderperson Schumacher.
All right, I gotta look at my notes here. Didn't have too many notes just on this one. The 51 West development, that's what this is related to.
Yeah, most of this stuff I think we talked about when we went through the development agreements at previous meetings. Anything to highlight matter, Rodney?
Not on the project plan.
Anything from your end, Rodney? Okay. Any questions from the council members? You know, the project plan basically just includes all the infrastructure that would be paid through for the increment, and then also some things that we would have options to do in the future. Hearing no questions, all in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed?
No. No.
Okay, we have 2 noes.
3 noes.
3 noes. So Majewski, Caravello, and Tukowski. Did you catch that, Candy?
Yes.
All right. That motion does carry. Next item is R78 of 2022. And I'll pull this one back up. And this one also came from Finance Committee, Alderperson Schumacher.
All right, R78, 2022, authorizing the mayor to submit a grant application for a workforce innovation grant, round 2, with the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, WEDC, for $5 million. Came through finance tonight, unanimous decision, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is that Caravello?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. And Alderperson Schumacher.
All right, this grant is related to the potential project with the 1892 building and conversion of that into the Innovation Center extension of the Fab Lab.
All right, any initial questions or comments? As I mentioned at the Finance Committee meeting, the city's kind of carrying the ball on this one. We're eligible to apply for a grant. We've applied for a couple other grants. We've been successful on some, not so successful on others. And Gary Becker, correct me if I'm wrong, this is one that we might have previously applied for. It's available again, is that right? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, that's right. We applied for this as part of a bigger regional application during the first round. This is the second round of this Workforce Innovation Grant. The first time around, applying through the Madison Region Economic Partnership was not successful. So we got some good feedback from the state about the Innovation Center part of it. And so we were encouraged to submit one. Just for the Innovation Center, which is what we're doing.
And really the purpose of the resolution is so we can pay Gary to write the grant. And hopefully we're successful. And if we are, that'll put us in a position to maybe do some other things to keep the process moving forward. Any questions or comments from alders?
I have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, Alderperson Hunt, go ahead.
The $5 million value, do we have any idea what percentage of the renovation of the 1892 building that would cover? I mean, would we need additional if we got a full amount, or would that pretty well take care of it?
Do you hear the question, Gary?
Yeah, I did. And just to clarify, this grant application is not for the 1892 building. It's to construct a new 30,000 square foot facility. We are proposing a couple of alternatives. And so the grant requires that a capital expenditure over $1 million, we have to present 3 alternatives. So we're trying to work out some of the alternatives that can work with the 1892 school building, but we're finding it very difficult to make that building work for the needs of the Innovation Center. So we're working through quite a few things, but as it stands now, this grant proposal is assuming a new 30,000 square foot facility.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Any other questions on this item?
Will this building be attached to the 1892 building?
No, likely not.
So how is the 1892 building involved in this at all?
It really isn't.
Okay.
Only if, one of the latest things we were talking about was the possibility of moving the 1892 building to another site and how much that would cost, and the school district had previously looked into that, and it was quite expensive to do that. So we're trying to figure out how the 1892 school building can fit into the Innovation Center, but the bottom line for the Innovation Center is that we need more of a manufacturing type of space, or a space that can accommodate manufacturing, which is the 1892 school building could be a good co-working space or business incubator of some sort, but we really need that manufacturing component in the Innovation Center to meet the purposes of this grant application, which is workforce innovation.
My next question is then, and this may sound rather foolish, but where will this new building be located?
We don't have a site yet.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 And any opposed? That motion carries. All right, thank you. Item 19 is coming from Finance Committee, Alderperson Schumacher.
R79, 2022, resolution by the Common Council of the City of Stoughton approving agreement to undertake development, the 51 West development. Came through Finance again tonight, unanimous decision, and I so move.
And is there a second? Second. Second by Alderperson Doom, Alderperson Schumacher.
Matt, were these the ones where you had some of the additional things that we were looking into?
Sure.
All right, do you want to highlight those, please?
Sure. So we have discussed this development agreement at earlier meetings. There were several issues that were outstanding the last time we discussed this issue, and I'll summarize where we are on those items, and then we can open up the discussion to whatever you'd like to discuss. The three outstanding items were the look-back agreement. That is now built into this agreement. Exhibit B includes a financial pro forma for the project that indicates what the current projected internal rate of return is, provides for a look back 10 years from now to compare that projected internal rate of return to actual rate of return, and make an adjustment in the TIF funding if the internal rate of return is shown to exceed 12%. So that issue has now been resolved. We also needed to work through the details of the process by which stormwater management facilities would be accepted in different development phases. This agreement now provides a detailed process for doing that that is acceptable to certainly city staff and to the developer. And then finally, the developer had requested a language in the agreement committing the city to extending the life of the TIF district if within the current statutory timeframe, the district generates insufficient revenue to pay the municipal revenue obligation in full. We took the position in discussions that we didn't want to commit to that, both because we were uncertain about whether we could commit to it legally. Well, that was really the main thing that we presented as our basis for not wanting to agree to that, and they said fine. They agreed to language indicating that the parties acknowledge there's an opportunity under the statute to consider that, but there's no commitment to doing that. So those remaining issues have now been resolved. As you recall from our earlier discussion, this development agreement addresses really two different sets of issues. One, relating to the developer's obligation to construct all of the various public improvements needed to serve the development. And it's a somewhat complicated dance that is being laid out here because of the phasing of the work and what needs to be done when, but the agreement addresses those issues. And then second, the agreement addresses the tax incremental financing that's being used to support the financing of the public improvements. So With that, I'd be happy to stop, I'll stop, and I'd be happy to talk about anything you would like to talk about.
Alderperson Hunt?
You mentioned the internal rate of return if it exceeds 12%.
Yeah.
What would occur if it did exceed that?
Then the amount of TIF funding that's being made available through the municipal revenue obligation would be reduced to bring the rate of, to bring the actual internal rate of return down to that 12% figure. I will tell you that the financing for this project and the financial pro forma has been evaluated extensively by your consultants at Ellers. And right now, what this project is showing a projected internal rate of return, I think, of 0.51%. And there's really no expectation here that this is going to get anywhere near 12%. But it's there in case somehow something totally unexpected happens here. Yeah.
So the developer, Dvorak, would expect to make about 0.51%, is that correct?
That's what the internal rate of return shows. There is a developer fee, I believe, built into the pro forma as well that will provide some additional, I don't have that up in front of me. Do you happen to know what that is, Dave?
I feel like it was like 2.3%.
Okay.
Put that in.
So there is a fee baked into the pro forma that the
Okay.
developer will be paid as a developer fee.
Okay.
In addition to that 0.51% rate of return on equity. Yeah.
It doesn't seem extravagant. In fact, it seems low compared to, I saw usually 10 to 18% would be normal. Okay.
Yeah, I think the circumstances of this project are somewhat unique in terms of ending up at that result. I think I'd be speculating it somewhat, but I think the developer, found himself in a position where he kind of had to proceed and is making the best, making lemonade out of lemons to the extent possible.
Any other questions from alders? Okay, hearing none, we do have a motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed?
No.
No.
I hear 2 noes, is that correct?
3 again, sorry.
Oh, I was waiting for it. All right, that motion does carry. All right, thank you. And I think that's all we had for tonight.
In honor of Greg Jensen, motion to adjourn.
Second.
There's a motion by Lagaki and a second by Schumacher to adjourn. Any discussion? Hope not. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thanks, everyone.